Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of How to Speak Maintenance, where we dive deep into the world of apartment maintenance to help identify opportunities and new tools, as well as demystify the world of facilities maintenance so that property managers and owners can better understand what our maintenance teams are going through. My name is Jason Fein. I'm the VP of Maintenance at Dominium, and with me is Becca Ramati from the Texas Apartment Association Education Foundation. So, hello, Becca.
Hey Jason, how are you?
Good. Before we start, do you want to talk about any new things going on at TAA?
Well, we're gearing up for starting to talk about TA1 conference again. So as you're starting your budget seasons, make sure you include that and talk to your managers and the powers that be about being in Fort Worth in April.
Awesome. That's exciting. I know the conferences are always a lot of fun. So,
Mm-hmm.
well, our special guests today are John Sanchez and Chris Faddoul with LUMA Residential. Welcome, both of you.
Thanks for having us. We're excited to be
Thanks
here.
for having us.
Yeah. I do need to mention that Chris won TAA Maintenance Professional of the Year and John Sanchez won Manager of the Year. So, congratulations to both of you on that as well. So, I'm excited to get you on since you're winning awards and doing a great job out there.
No, appreciate it. I mean, we're excited to be here.
Thank
So,
you.
fun
Yeah.
time, fun time.
If you wouldn't mind, maybe start with John. Maybe you can tell the listeners about your position and kind of your career path with property management.
Sure. I mean, I'm with LUMA Residential. Like you said, I've been with them for the past 5 years. Started off as a leasing consultant with them, worked my way up to assistant manager, and now to a property manager. But yeah, pretty much, I was I'm born and raised out in El Paso, Texas, and wanted to jump into the real estate. So I actually was selling houses back in El Paso. And I was like, well, I want to eventually own my own property and I want to be in charge of, my own portfolio. And I was like, well, I don't really know nothing about it. So let me move out to Dallas, which at the time was growing. So let me move out to Dallas and figure it out and get away from, unfortunately, El Paso didn't really have too much growth at that time or what I thought. So I was like, I need to go to a city that's going to, provide that growth opportunity for me. And needless to say, I haven't looked back since. And so, yeah, right now it's been a fun ride. But in the past 5 years, I went from leasing to now PM at a Midtown or Midtown Dallas Midtown. It's like a mid-rise.
Okay. Well, that's great. I always love hearing how people didn't expect to get into property management, but then they kind of fell into it one way or another. So, Chris, why don't you tell us about your career and where you're at currently?
My name is Chris Faddoul. I'm with LUMA Residential. I've been with them for 5 years. I've been in property maintenance technically my whole life. My parents had property in California. 12 years old, finished school, sit in a vacant unit with my dad, do my homework, and start working when I was done. Moved to Texas, started as a make-ready tech with LUMA, moved up to service tech, service manager, and now I'm continuing to grow.
It's awesome. What's your current role? You just became a multi-site manager?
Multi-site, like a regional facilities manager.
That's awesome. Congratulations on that.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Well, let's get into it. So we all know that our maintenance teams, their time is very valuable and it's very scarce as well. I remember being a maintenance employee on site and just trying to find time to even breathe sometimes can be a little difficult, right? So protecting your maintenance team's time, and making sure that we're calling them for true emergencies versus inconveniences is pretty important. So let's talk about what's considered an emergency from a maintenance standpoint between you guys at LUMA. What do you call a maintenance team for, and what do you just put a service request in for? We can start with
Maintenance
either one.
emergency for me is air conditioning, flood, fire. If it's a fire, I mean 911. But air conditioning, heating, that's emergencies. Apartment flooding, one bedroom only has one toilet, can't use the toilet, that's an emergency. A
Do you
light
guys
bulb
put
is not
the
an emergency.
Yeah. Do you guys put thresholds on the AC temperature or the heat, like what the temperature is outside and what you'll come out for and what's an emergency?
Our company policy, I think, is if it's in the freezing weather, it's if it's 55 degrees, and summer 75,
Okay.
and that's considered an emergency where we need to be out, and that's a priority.
I think that's important for our listeners. There might be some people out there that have some couple properties or they haven't set those parameters. And so anytime a resident calls and says the AC's broken or the heater's broken, we're automatically dispatching a maintenance tech. And that can, if it's 75 degrees outside and it's 80 degrees in the apartment, you can open your window and be able to cool up your apartment faster than it is, to be able to get somebody out. So that might not be an emergency. It's an inconvenience and we're going to come out and we're
Yeah.
going to fix it. Right.
No, definitely. And I think that starts with the communication piece of it all. Obviously, those expectations should be set, at move-in or even prior to. And when you're having those resident orientations, those are great opportunities for us to really sit down with the resident and go through not only how to submit a service request, because everything's done online nowadays. You don't really see too much written service requests. And the kind of you're not really seeing as much people go to the office as you used to in terms of putting in those maintenance requests. So having that resident orientation and having that clear communication, like you said, having that actual outline, hey, this is an emergency, this is what we would come out for, and this is going to be serviced within 24 hours. And going through that, how to submit that service request to the rent portal, or whatever it is that you're accepting service requests, showing them how to properly do that, and then give them realistic expectations. Like, hey, these are the things that we get done within that 24-hour time frame. These are things our policy is. We'll get a standard work order completed within 3 days. For me, the way that I like to run my office is if it's more than 3 days, that to me is considered an emergency. So usually on the fourth or fifth day, we're knocking those things out that have been, lingering for longer than that, unless it's obviously a part that's been ordered or something that we're waiting to come in. But I think that definitely starts with having that communication with the residents and having that policy up front before they even move in. And then when they're moving in, we can continue to reiterate those conversations. And that way it makes it more easier so they're not, coming at us with, those small little service requests, and they kind of understand, like, okay, what's our process? A lot of times people are upset when they're confused. So you can avoid that confusion and we can be upfront with them. You tend to see a lot more, I guess, willingness to get things done in a certain time frame.
It makes sense. Do you guys ever not arm, but provide your leasing consultants with information that maybe help try to troubleshoot some things in the apartment? I've seen that before.
Yeah, no, definitely. And that's one thing too, is like when we're talking about office and service team members, right? Like that's probably one of the biggest divides that we see is, you have office team members and service team members, and you don't really have like one team. And so you one of the biggest things that I've noticed is that they intertwine together, obviously, right? It's one team member. And if you have one person that's out of sync, or you have one group that's out of sync with this group, you're not really going to be able to see eye to eye. You're not going to be communicating with the residents, and you have one person communicating something else, and then you have another person communicating something else. It's like, oh yeah, the leasing agent's telling, or our team members are telling that we'll be there today. But in reality, we probably won't be there till next week, but we don't know that. So we're also giving you misinformation. So it's kind of like, it starts with us communicating as a team and everyone being on the same page. So everyone knows our policy, right? Everyone knows what's considered an emergency request. Everyone knows that we'll get it done within 3 days. And everyone knows how to troubleshoot minor issues. So when you are on the phone, hey, have you checked your breaker box? Hey, have you tried this? Hey, have you tried that? Have you tried resetting your garbage disposal? And we try to walk things through. Nowadays, you don't really see that as much because you are getting work orders over online. So there's not much troubleshooting. Except for emergency calls that we're getting. We're going to try to, walk them through. And then we're also going to try to de-escalate. So it's like, hey, I get how you're feeling. I know it's frustrating. At this time, it's not something that's an emergency, but we'll get to it when we're able to. Right now, we're working on ACs. We're working on something currently, but we'll get it done within 3 days. And as long as you're giving that communication, you're giving that guide, like, hey, this is what to expect. Normally, we see a better understanding of what's going to happen with both your service teams and then your maintenance teams or office teams, and you're all on the same page, and you're not you're not really pointing fingers like, oh, they told you this, or oh, they told me this, and oh, they told me that. That's another thing that you see too is, they're blaming the maintenance team members for saying something incorrectly to them in the unit. Oh, they're blaming the leasing agent because they told us that they were going to get it done that day. And the communication really starts, from within. And then as long as we're all on the same page, usually what we're saying is pretty consistent.
Yeah. I
mean,
found it.
Chris knows. I mean, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but yeah, Chris knows. I mean, we worked together for the past 2 years. We won our awards together at the same property. We have a great relationship together, and that relationship evolved to a friendship. And I can say that, the relationship that was cultivated was based off of communication, right? We were communicating, we were supporting each other. So it wasn't like, oh, well, they're telling you something incorrectly, and I'm not saying, oh, well, he's telling you something incorrectly. It's, we're both supporting each other and having each other's backs, not necessarily pointing fingers or throwing each other under the bus. And we're kind of like showcasing that front to our residents, and that gives them that clear understanding, like, okay, this is what's actually going on.
Jason, I think what we've heard on almost every episode that we've touched on this, especially the communications part, is that the relationship between the property manager and the service manager and them having a good relationship and talking things out and being, aware of what each other has to do and talking every day seems to be the key. And so, Chris and John, I guess, how did you guys make that happen and form a friendship around it? And then what were the things that, you made non-negotiables so that you had that communication and that your teams then kind of mirrored that or didn't let, there be that divide?
Yeah, I agree completely. Like, property manager and service manager have to be hand to hand, right hand, left hand. I mean, if I forgot something, John picked it up. If John forgot something, I picked it up. I mean, and as far as the friendship goes, I mean, when we're at work, he's the boss. You need something taken care of, I'm gonna make it happen. If I can't do it, I'm gonna send one of the guys to do it. It's communication. This whole property maintenance and property management, the main thing I stress by saying this all the time is communication. If nobody communicates, we don't know what's going on. That goes from residents to property managers, assistant managers, leasing agents, maintenance guys. I mean, we have to communicate. Communicating, I don't know what's wrong if there's no communication. I don't know how to fix it. I don't have a solution if I'm getting only bits and pieces of communication. Yeah, John and I, we still hang out. We just hung out last week at the pool.
No, definitely, yeah. And I'll jump on that, Chris. I'll add to what Chris is saying is like that the communication is super important, and I think that, well, first of all, maintenance is the backbone of our communities. We'll just say that. At the end of the day, when we support service team members and we support our maintenance team members, residents are better served. Like, they give us the best opportunity to build resident satisfaction, and they give us the best opportunity to really build relationships with residents. Because at the end of the day, unless we're doing like a resident event, I don't really see residents as often. They're not coming in the office all the time like they used to. You don't really see that much. You probably don't even have enough conversations to remember them as much as you probably used to. Our service team members are in houses every single day. Like, they probably have better relations with these residents than we ever will. And those if you're supporting them, you're going to get that work ethic and that, like, well, I want to be here. And the residents are going to see that, and they're going to be like, oh wow, not only they're taking care of us, but they also have a great attitude, and they must have a great attitude because they must be working for a good company. They must be working for a good company. Oh, well, maybe I'm in a good community. And it kind of like, waterfalls into that kind of mentality. But I think, like you said, one of the biggest things between me and Chris is, I'm going to support him no matter what, right? Like, we all make mistakes. It is what it is. But I will support my service team members, and I'm going to support them, and I'll have their backs, and I'll, if they need something, we'll make sure that, we communicate that with our owners or investors or whatever it is going on. Like, we're going to communicate that with people that need to know if we're needing to do something. If we can't do something, we're gonna bounce ideas off each other on what we can do to kind of problem solve. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's all about supporting, and if they feel supported, I think they're gonna be more open to having a conversation with you and being more open to build that relationship with you. If you don't feel supported in your position and what you're doing, you don't feel empowered to do it. You're already gonna be closed off, and that relationship may not be as genuine. You're just gonna do it because it's a work relationship. But I think that's where it starts off. Is yes, communication is important, but also showing support and showing that you care. And one of the things that I think works for us is we share our goals with each other. What it is that you want to do, what it is that I want to do, and being able to share, like, this is where I see the property going, this is where I see my career going, this is where I see myself going. And the same thing with Chris, where do you want to be in here? Do you want to continue being a service manager? Do you want to get more certifications? Do you want to build a stronger team? Do you want to spend more time training the team? Like, do you want to work on facilitating things of that nature? You won't know unless you ask those questions. And I think a lot of us forget or just don't ask those questions to our service team members. And it's more like, do this, versus having like a genuine conversation back and forth.
That's great. We talked a lot about communication, and I think the right form of communication is important as much as how often we communicate. And so, how do you guys find you're communicating throughout the day? You text message, radios, like what's your preferred method?
Text message, you got Teams, emails, phone
I just want to
calls.
say, Teams is a new thing right now.
No radio. I wish we did have a radio, actually. Radio is pretty cool. No, but
paging Chris.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Chris, how many
If
times
John calls me and I'm hanging off a ladder, I'm not going to answer, obviously, right? But he'll know I'm busy. I'm not messing around, and he'll text me. And then when I get down on that ladder, I'll call him back, or if it's emergency, we'll go accordingly. Just phone calls, text messages, and Teams.
Teams.
Yeah,
Chris,
I think now our bulk communication is in Teams, and we have Teams channels, we have Teams group chats. You can send messages individually to Teams, which is nice because you can also find it's a trail. If you ever need to go back, you can type in a unit number and it'll have a trail of it. Obviously, for emergencies, will be a call. I'll probably put it in Teams or send out a text message and then I'll call. Follow up, just so I can clarify, this is what's going on. Instead of the 5106 AC, what does that even mean? Right? So, clarifying what it is that, needs to get done is also important. And so having both, written and verbal communication, definitely helps. And then obviously if they're not, they're middle work order, that's fine too. So you get back to me whenever you can. But you're just communicating that, hey, we need to converse sometime today.
Do you find that all of your technicians are tech savvy and able to use Teams and all the different features on their phones?
I wish.
Yeah.
No,
Same.
yeah.
I mean, it's just another tool we could train them with. I'm not gonna lie, Jason. I'm not too tech savvy. I mean, a lot of stuff. John, can you help me with this? I can fix your AC. I can do that, but how do I do this? How do I scan that in? So now I'm better. I also have an 18-year-old that helps me with a lot of my tech stuff. I mean, now that I'm learning, this whole new centralized maintenance is a whole nother program. I learned on Yardi. Now I'm learning something else, and now I'm learning it. I'm getting it down, and I'm gonna pass that on to my guys, and if they can't figure it out, I will. We'll get you an answer. You are gonna learn how to use a text message, your phone or your Teams app, and it's
Yeah.
John did teach me a lot on Teams, because I was like, why are we on Teams now? Why can't you just text me? So,
Yeah.
now I get a text message from my phone, and then a Teams message, and then pictures here, and then an email here. So it's a lot, but it's all about training.
So how do you clarify that noise sometimes? What's your default? Is there a number one source first and then the others trickle down?
Sometimes when there's a lot of text messaging going around, I'll just pick up that phone and call somebody. What is it you need? How can I help you?
Well, I think this topic is really important. I mean, because we've mentioned 4 different forms of communication, right? Calling, texting, Teams, email. And sometimes things can get missed because we emailed it, or it was sent via chat on a Teams meeting, or it was, I called you and I left you a message, right? So bringing all of it back together and making sure that there's one depository for what work needs to get done and who's doing it is vital. It's important to the success of the
Yeah, and
community.
I'll touch on that, Jason. Is that there's one piece of communication that matters over anything else,
Mm-hmm.
and that's service requests.
Mm-hmm.
That's it, right? So yes, obviously communications, like Teams communications or using Teams and using a phone and using text messages are definitely helpful, and they're definitely gonna be able for you to explain what's going on. But at the end of the day, I'm gonna put in a service request, right? Like I'm gonna put that work order in. Like if I have an AC that needs to get done, I'm gonna let Chris know. I'm gonna inform him. But at the end of the day, I'm gonna put in the work order in so that way we can also track the refrigerant and if he needs to assign it to a resident or assign it to a technician, he can assign it. But that's the ultimate form of communication is make sure you have a tracking system of your work orders and service requests. And if you know the policy, there's no reason for you to bother them. The only time I'll ever call Chris or Teams them or any of my service team members is if it's an actual emergency, like there's active flooding or something that we need a response to at that moment. Mm-hmm. But if it's a service request that we're getting, even an AC, we're going to put in the work order for it, Teams it over at him. And either way, if he doesn't see that Teams chat, he's going to see that work order in the system.
Yeah, I agree with John on that because work order, I could be working on 5 different ACs at the same time, and my leasing agent's texting me, "Hey, there's this," and I saw it, but then after my 4th AC I'm working on, I forgot about it. So, but my habit is go back and look at my work orders, and that work order's on there. That work order is going to get taken care of. Yeah. No matter if it's me or one of my technicians or whoever, it's going to get taken care of. So, a lot of phone calls, text messages, and you're in the middle of a busy 115-degree day. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to read your messages right now. I'm going to be focused on fixing ACs for these residents and fixing leaks and everything. But I will come and look at my work orders because that's my mind training habit. I train my mind that it's on there, it's getting fixed.
Mm-hmm. That's a good. That's important, and I'm glad that you guys mentioned that. Put the ticket in, make sure that the workflow is there, so then that way we can be able to maintain it. I've seen it all too often where maintenance teams they'll fall apart because they have a goal. We're going to get our tickets down. We're going to do these turns today, and then they start on that plan. But then throughout the day, a resident comes in and they're upset about a washing machine that's down. And so they go into the office and they're mad and they tell the leasing agent. The leasing agent calls the maintenance tech real quick. And the maintenance tech runs off to go fix it and make that leasing agent happy, right? Because they thought that was priority. But that's not priority. And we communicated it the wrong way. Let's put the ticket in. Sir, we'll put the ticket in. We'll make sure we get to you as soon as possible. And that way we're not pulling the maintenance tech off of that turn that he was working on or that AC that he was working on. I've seen people get stretched real thin, and then it almost actually is unproductive. Yeah. I don't know if you guys ever seen it.
It's happened to me. It's happened to all of us. It's happened to me. You want to please everybody at the same time. You got priorities, tickets, work orders. That's the main communication I prefer.
Yeah. Right, and I think that's where you see the kind of like that split between the office and the service team members because you just touched on it. Office team members are going to want things done right away. You know why? Because the residents are in their face upset and they want a resolution at that moment. And so what's the logical thing to do? Oh, well, I'm going to get it done right now. But you're not understanding the back end of what it is that service goes through on a daily basis and what it takes for them to complete work orders like that. And so whenever you're communicating that to the residents, like, listen, our job, service members, their team, their job is to complete those tickets for you, right? Our role is to help residents understand the difference between what is an emergency and what is an inconvenience, right? So it's like, I get it. It is an inconvenience. I understand what you're going through. I understand that that's something that you really want to get taken care of. But at this moment, it's not an emergency. What I can do is we can put in the service request, for you as a courtesy. We'll put it in for you. We'll track it. We'll monitor it. And we'll make sure it gets done within the 3 days. How does that sound? And of course, they're going to be upset about it. But at the end of the day, you have to support your maintenance team members, and there's other people that put in those service requests beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing that we can say is, listen, we'll put it in, but we're gonna handle those work orders at the way that the order that we receive them in. And usually that definitely helps out with the understanding of the residents. But no, I definitely, it starts, like I said, it starts with understanding each other's roles and helping each other out, and not so much like, well, I'm going to benefit from it. So now I'm going to be that inconvenient to my service team members because it's going to benefit me at that moment.
Yeah.
And instead of taking it on the chin, like, and working as a team.
That's great. Chris, I have a question for you. In your new role being a multi-site manager, how are you communicating with your maintenance teams and communicating with the different office teams throughout all your properties?
Teams, and then our
Do you have huddles or anything like that, or
teams, and then our new program we're using. It's basically just moving chess pieces around, priorities. I wake up in the morning, I look at the work orders on all sites and take all those emergencies and I move them up to the top, and then accordingly, I move everything else accordingly by time and date. But communication of phones, I mean, I'm still doing it all: text messaging, phones, text, Teams, and email. So that hasn't changed.
No.
It's just now a bigger scale, bigger scale. Yeah, a lot more. Over 1,000 residents, 1,000 problems.
Wow.
More ordering for 4 properties, materials and whatnot, and still going out there and fixing things when I can, when I'm so.
Yeah.
A lot of juggling, but as far as communication, it's still the same way for me.
Yeah.
Teams and emails and phone calls.
Yeah.
It certainly adds a layer of complexity to what you do. Maybe we need to have a whole episode on centralization of maintenance in the future.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
I think that especially during the summer months, and that's the reason why that Becca and I thought this was a good topic, was it's the summer months. It's the heavy leasing season. There's a lot of move outs. It's hot outside. It's just, it's a lot. It can be a lot on our maintenance teams. And so it's important to make sure that across the country that we're making time to identify what's an emergency, what is not, and make sure that we're not pulling our maintenance teams in 10 different directions when they're trying to accomplish a goal that we set forth for them. So this was a great conversation. Before we go, I always like to ask my guests, what's a piece of advice that they might have for somebody coming into the property management industry, and what has made you successful? So maybe John, you can start.
Man, that's a loaded question. I mean, I have a lot of things I can say, but one of the biggest things is just be curious, right? Like, just be curious of everything, like not question everything, but be curious about it, right? Like, ask why. So if, a service team member, for example, is telling you policy and you don't understand it, ask, why do you do it this way? Like, and I think that for us, especially with like teams, for example, right? When people are confused about, certain programs and certain things that we do, but they're not asking why. Oh, it's why, if you ask the why and you get the explanation, it might help you understand things a little bit better. And one of the things that I've noticed is, people are just scared of change, or they're scared of things because they don't understand it, or they don't know it. And so if you train them, or if you explain things to them, then everyone's tech savvy. No one's tech savvy until they get taught how to be tech savvy, right? And so for me, it's just being curious, right? Like, be curious, always ask questions. If you don't know something, ask about it. If you want to know a position, right? Like, if you really want to understand how a service member's schedule or day operates, why don't you tag along with them for a day, or challenge yourself with certifications. I got my CAMT just for that reason. I wanted to know exactly how, service team members, do their work and do their job, and I can better communicate with them when it comes to certain things regarding service. So that'll be my advice: is be curious, keep asking questions. If you don't know, ask, and I'm sure you'll get the answer that you're looking for, or at least someone will be open to explaining things to you.
I like it. Chris?
Yeah, I mean, piggyback off of John, ask questions. I love to teach. I love to teach, and my dad, you know, in this business, I mean, I've been doing this my whole life, as you know, and my dad always said, if your guys aren't as good as you, then you failed as a boss. So I like to teach, and I like that my guys know everything. I'm not threatened about anybody taking my job. I want my guys or my team or any other maintenance guy that wants to be in this business. You want to learn, ask, and we'll teach.
That's great. Be
And
curious.
it's all about teaching. It really
Yeah.
is. It's all about teaching. I mean, even just in, like, you know, to be a doctor, you got to go to school. Somebody got to teach you how to be a doctor. Same with maintenance. You want to learn ACs, we'll teach you.
Yeah.
It's just you really want this business, if you really want to be in this and you want to move up, listen, learn, soak it all in, and apply, execute.
Awesome.
Love it.
Well, that's a wrap for our episode today. Thank you so much, John and Chris, for joining. And it was a great conversation. And hopefully, the listeners that were tuning in today, they picked something out of it as well. So, if anybody that's listening is interested in any of our previous conversations, you can find us on the go as a podcast, wherever you download your podcast, as well as on Facebook and LinkedIn. So, thank you, Becca, again for putting this together.
Of course, and we'll be back on September 24th with the next episode of How to Speak Maintenance. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
And we're out.